This is the most controversial history you'll ever hear. They say ancient vaults in Iran have been opened, revealing secrets long buried. Whispers claim the scrolls prove the Black Israelites were the first chosen people, a hidden history suppressed for centuries, now threatening to rewrite the Bible itself. But is this truth, or just another myth dressed in ancient robes? To find answers, we enter Persia's archives, where history and legend collide, and what we discover inside is not what you've been told. The story begins with the Cyrus Cylinder, unearthed in the 19th century. Historians call it the world's first declaration of human rights. It tells of a king who restored conquered peoples to their homelands, among them the Judeans, permitted to rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. But the cylinder says nothing of race, nothing of secret Black Israelites. Next, the Persepolis fortification tablets, tens of thousands of them, records of rations, workers, and empire, not revelations of hidden tribes. These vaults were opened nearly a century ago, studied ever since. So why do we now hear whispers of suppressed scrolls? Because myths thrive where facts are silent, and silence echoes louder online. But archaeology tells a quieter, stranger story, one buried in the hills of Canaan. There, small farming villages appeared around 1200 BCE. Pottery shards, hearths, and houses whisper of a people just beginning, not outsiders arriving, but locals transforming into something new. Scholars call them early Israelites, the seeds of a story still told today. But these seeds grew from the soil of Canaan, not from Persia's vaults. DNA now confirms what the soil suggests: continuity, not replacement. From Bronze Age Canaanites to modern Levantines, the genetic thread holds. No sudden racial arrival, no suppressed archive. Just history's long continuity. So if the vaults hold no secret chosen race, where does the Black Israelite story truly begin? In the 19th century, far from Persia, a new voice rose in America. A voice declaring, "We are Israel, we are the lost tribes." In Harlem, in the Caribbean, across the Black diaspora, the message spread. It gave dignity to the oppressed, identity to the forgotten. Through scripture, suffering became prophecy. Exile became destiny. The movement took many forms, some gentle, some fiery, but all shared one conviction: we are Israel, reborn. Critics called it myth. Believers called it revelation. By the late 20th century, Black Hebrew Israelite camps filled American streets. They debated, they prophesied, they proclaimed their heritage. To many it was fringe, to others it was liberation. And with the internet, their voice grew louder than ever before. The myth of Persian vaults was fuel, powerful, dramatic fuel. Yet the truth was simpler and stranger. Persian kings restored many peoples, not one chosen race. Archaeology showed Israelites emerged locally, not from secret archives. DNA showed continuity, not sudden arrival. But movements do not grow from facts alone. They grow from longing. Longing for meaning, for identity, for chosenness. And in that longing, myths find fertile soil. The story was never just about Persia. It was about belonging. Belonging to a past, to a promise, to a prophecy. Each new generation reimagined the vault, each in its own way. But the vault was never in Iran. It was always in us. History and myth now stood side by side, each demanding to be believed. But myths are powerful because they speak to wounds left unhealed. They echo the pain of slavery, exile, and the struggle for identity. For many, the Israelite story became their own reflection. Babylonian captivity, the Middle Passage, different ages, same longing. Longing for a God who remembers his people. So, was the vault truly opened? Were the scrolls real? No. The scrolls have been public for decades. The twist is this: the vault was never in Iran. The vault is here. Inside our need to belong, to be chosen. Inside every community that asks, who are we really? Persia gave permission to rebuild, but identity was rebuilt from within. Each generation finds itself in Scripture's mirror. The words do not change, but the readers do. That is why myths live on. They adapt, they survive. What Persia gave was not proof, but possibility. A possibility seized by people searching for dignity, searching for connection to something greater than themselves. For the Israelites of old, exile ended in return. For the Black Israelites of today, exile ends in identity. Identity is the vault, always locked, always waiting to be opened. And once opened, it reveals less about history and more about us. Because every people longs to be chosen. Every people longs for their story to matter. And in that longing, we find the real vault. Not hidden in Iran, not sealed in clay, but carried in memory, carried in faith. Faith that transforms myths into meaning. Meaning that survives even when history disagrees. Because what we believe shapes who we become. The Israelites of Scripture, the Israelites of today. Different faces, same hunger to belong. History offers fragments. Faith fills in the rest. So the myth of Persian vaults continues to spread, not because it is true, but because it is needed. Needed to answer the question, who are we? Who are the chosen? Who belongs to God? The archives of Persia remain silent, but the voices of people do not. They cry out, they proclaim, they insist, we are Israel. And whether or not history agrees, identity takes root. Roots that bind generations to a story greater than themselves, greater than Persia, greater than exile. A story written not just in tablets, but in hearts. So the vault is opened, not in Iran, but in us. The vault was never locked. It was always waiting. Waiting for each generation to enter and claim its treasure. The treasure of identity. The treasure of belonging. For in the end, history tells us what was, but faith tells us who we are.